Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video, we'll be taking a look at the Kill Team Critical Ops, Tac Ops, and Mission card pack, going through all the instructions that are included in the box, and if you couldn't get hold of any, like I couldn't, I'll show you how I made my own and how you can do the same. Yesterday I made a video just condensing that long 40-minute interview that talked about, as well as other things, the Critical Ops, Tac Ops and Mission card pack, and I've done a video when these were first shown, but we couldn't get too much out of that pack because they only showed us a few limited pictures, and then the card packs were hard to get hold of and buy because they didn't publish many. I've tried to get some again today, went to a few shops, looked online, but most retailers are only getting 2 packs of cards, which is nothing compared to how popular this game is. So I decided to make my own. So I've put together the 3 missions into cards that I can print off and use. So if we want to play competitively and we've invested all this time and money in buying the different game sets and the different books, how are we going to do that if we can't get hold of the rules? So luckily there's some great websites that have put the information out there, very easy to search and find that, and then I just took that information and compiled it into my own cards using Keynote and just made it look very similar to the ones you could buy if you were lucky enough to get hold of them. So I've made all the cards except for the Tac Ops. I'll be coming back around to that and do a separate video on that maybe tomorrow if I can get those done in time. But I've done the Scouting step cards as well. There's going to be 3 of those that you'll find. And so there's some tweaks and changes to the rules. So if you want to play the up-to-date rules, you want to play competitively in tournaments, you are going to need this. So how are we going to do it if we can't buy them? We've got to make our own. So yeah, these you can find. Now if you're one of my Patreon members, they're going to be on my Patreon. I've made these for my own personal use and just shared a picture to show what I've done. Now if anyone wants to print those off or distribute them to anybody they know and anyone they want to give a copy to, that's up to them, but I'm just showing what I've done. And even if you pause the screen, maybe you can get a screenshot and maybe do something with that too. I spent way too long on this today, but I've done the maps as well for the outdoor maps. So if you're playing with, say, the Octarius or the Morok terrain, then you can use these maps, and this is going to tell you 9 altogether. And so I put together all 9 into card forms. Again, print them off and use them, or just get the screenshots, use your phone or your iPad, do it that way. That would be another cool way to do it. And then here are the info cards. So one is going to give you the match play game sequence, so 11 steps to setting up and beginning a game. And so this is handy to have, say if you're using the book now, so that's really good. Then there's the match play map card key that shows you all the elements of the maps we've seen. There's also this pull-out. Now there's a few rules in here that have changed from the core book. So again, if you want to play match play in tournaments and play these up-to-date rules, you really do need the copy of this pull-out. So I've typed it all up, put it into the 4 cards, and then I've also done the other side, which is the match play game sequence that goes into detail for each of the 11 steps that are featured on that info card we just saw. I'm going to be playing a campaign at my local game club, so I really wanted to get all this in order and have these now ready to start playing that. So that's going to be really fun. I'll share that campaign here on YouTube when it starts as well. I'm going to put some narrative in there, come up with some fun missions, maybe do some homebrew rules as well. But I'll let you know as that comes up. If you're like me and you want to play these up-to-date rules, then hopefully this video is going to help you, especially if you couldn't get hold of that card pack. So I thought we could start working our way through the key points that's changed from the main rules, and we'll have a look at the match play game sequence, starting with determine mission and map. So this is nice and easy. We determine the mission and map, and on the other side of this fold out, you'll see the 4 pages there which go through different ways of doing it. Now in the interview yesterday, they said this was meant to simplify things, but to be fair, they made this quite complicated and wordy, giving you all these different options to do this. Maybe it's unnecessary, but you know, it gives a little bit of a different way to set up. So you know, it could be fun, but I think it's a bit overkill, to be honest, this part. If we flip the pull-out over, it shows us here that here you'll find a variety of methods you can use to determine missions and map. So you're going to choose your mission, then your map, and one way to do it is to do it in an organised way, specify beforehand which combination of map will be used. And it says if you're doing a tournament, each round can be like planned and specified beforehand, or you can determine it, whoever's organising the tournament can sort that out, but not reveal it to everyone until the previous rounds be completed. So a couple of ways there for organised tournament play. Another way is just to make it random, so take those mission cards and map cards separately, shuffle each pack, and then just deal one of each, and then that's the mission you're going to play. That's a good way, I think, if you're just playing some fun, casual games, just make it random. But if you want to play narrative, then I think Organise is a good way, because you could plan it around some ideas you've got. Then there's another method called veto where the players will roll off, decide who's attacking and defending. Then the attacker takes the mission cards, defender takes the map cards, the attacker chooses 2 mission cards to put forward, the defender selects one of those to use, the defender then chooses 3 map cards to put forward, and then the attacker will select one of those 3 to be discarded, the defender then selects one of the remaining 2 cards to use, and then the defender selects their drop zone after setting up the objective markers, and carries on as normal. In practice, I guess this is pretty straightforward. Once you've done it once, it's pretty easy. But to be fair, this does seem quite complicated when you read it the first time. So I don't know if this is the direction I would go in if I wanted to simplify something. I'm not sure. It gets a little bit worse though, because you've got this control option here, where if you're playing a series of games against each other, the winner of the previous game can simply select a mission card that was not in use, then select a map type, and so go about it that way. There's even a bidding option where each player will get 10 tokens and they can bid on the mission, the map, the who's going to be the attacker defender, they can bid on the first initiative, and they work through each category. Each player will secretly put some tokens in their hand that they want to bid, or none if they don't want to, and then they'll reveal them. Whoever wins, they're going to be the winner for that bid, and if it's a draw, they have to do it again. So that's quite long-winded. I don't fancy doing it that way myself. Let me know what you think about all these different options, though, in the comments section down below. Do you like these ideas? Is it too many? Let me know. Love to hear what you think. Right, once you've made it through step 1, now it's time to set up objective markers and the kill zone. So that's nice and straightforward. Pop those markers down where they show you on the map, choose the kill zone and the terrain you want to use, and then you can add that wherever you like on the map. So the maps don't tell you where to put the terrain, so that's up to you to decide. In step 3, you're simply going to roll off to see who's the attacker and who's the defender. And in step 4, you select your kill team from your matched roster, and then each player will get 3 command points that they add to their pool. In step 5, you select your Tac Ops, and on the reverse of this pull out, there's going to be very similar ways to do that. Like we saw before with a map or mission, you can do it randomly. There's something called constructed random. There's a free selection where you just simply choose 3 from your deck of 27. There's acquired, that's another way that you can do it. And again, you can also bid on it. So lots of different ways to choose the Tac Ops you're going to use. Again, a little bit much I think here. Do we really need all these different ways to get our Tac Ops? Again, I'm not so sure. Now it speeds up again as you select your equipment. In step 7, you set up your barricades, so players alternate, setting up barricades one at a time, but starting with a defender until each player has got 2 barricades set up on the battlefield. And now each time a player sets up a barricade, it must be within red of their drop zone, but more than white from all other barricades and not on a terrain feature unless that terrain has the insignificant trait. In yesterday's video, I covered the interview and went through what they were talking about, and they did say you can put a barricade on a vantage point now. So that's cool, but I'm like, well, where's that written? Because I didn't remember seeing that anywhere, but it's actually on number 1 card for scouting called Fortify, where it tells us that we can set up 1 additional barricade wholly within our territory. Unlike normal barricades, we can set it up on a vantage point. So this is really cool. If you like playing snipers, you're going to be able to do that in the scouting step, and you choose Fortify. So if you do that, you can get that on a vantage point, get that cover. That's going to be brilliant if you like playing snipers. So really cool. Now, I'm not sure if I did miss this in an FAQ. I've had a look through. I couldn't see it. But in the core book on page 93, where you go through the match play mission sequence, in the scouting step, it just says for Fortify, set up 1 additional barricade within red of your drop zone. So it doesn't mention that vantage point at all. So really nice that we can do that now. But again, if you didn't have these cards, how are you going to really know about this and make sure everyone who's playing in your group does too? So I think this is another reason why I wanted to put this card set together. And again, hope it helps you out too. Okay, we're getting there now, so we're on to number 8, where we set up our operatives. Now this is interesting, this has changed from the regular deployment, and I really like this. I think this is a big improvement. Before, one player would have to set up all of their models, and so whoever's going second would have a huge advantage seeing where they've been placed, but now that's changed. And if you don't want to use these changes, just stick to your core book. You don't have to buy any of this or get these cards and put them into play. If you're happy with the rules as they are, just stick to it. But if you do like the idea of changing this, then I think it's going to add to the game. And the way it works is each player will separate their operatives into 3 groups. They state in the rules that it's got to be numerically even. So if you've got 9 models, that's perfect. You put 3 in each group. If you've got 10, you're going to have to go 3, 3 and 4. So this is quite similar to when you're putting together your groups for Warcry. But in this time, though, you know exactly which ones you can put on the board when. So it doesn't depend on the cards you draw and things like that. So you split them into the groups and then you take turns deploying one group at a time and giving them their order. I really like this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this slight change that they've done. What do you think? Will it improve the game, or are you happy as it is? Now we've got step 9, the scouting phase. This has remained the same, so that's cool. You're just going to either choose Fortify, Infiltrate or Recon, hide the dice in your hands and then reveal and see who gets which one and the order that you can then decide the initiative. And with that complete, you can go on to step 10, where you can finally start playing the battle, go through the game, and then as you work through to the final step, 11, you're going to end the battle after 4 turning points. Then it goes on to clarify who wins, and it's the person with the most victory points, and it lets us know that you can have a maximum of 12 victory points from achieving your mission objectives, a maximum of 6 victory points from your Tac Ops, and then you get 2 victory points for a painted army to a battle ready standard. So in total, the maximum points any player can have at the end of the game is 20 victory points. So that pretty much covers all the information from the card packs. So there's quite a little bit there, a few nice changes. So I think you definitely needed to get hold of that information if you want to implement them into your game. But there's also these close quarter rules. Now, they've released this as a free PDF that you can get from the Warhammer community site. And I go through it a little bit in yesterday's video. There's a link there as well if you want to go to the article. But here, I've just put it together in the same file and PDF that I put on my Patreon. And this is going to go through the different terrain and setups and the different maps for playing with the Into the Dark terrain and some of the different Tac Ops that you're going to use with that gameplay. One thing I haven't gone through in this video are the Tac Ops that come in the mission pack. So there's a load of cards in there, and so I'm going to go through that in another video because it's quite a lot to talk about. I want to have a look and compare the changes and see what's different, and that will hopefully give you a good idea again whether you'd want to implement those changes in your game as well, so you can keep right up to date. And especially if you're playing in tournaments or want to start playing in tournaments, you're going to need these rules. So we'll go through those Tac Ops in another video, and I might do the same thing, type them up in cards that I'll use for personal use and just put those on my Patreon to share what I've been up to. And then if you're on Patreon, you can do with them whatever you like. While we're talking about Patreon, I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate your support, helping me keep going with these videos. I'm doing my best to keep them daily, and thank you for watching. I'd love to see you on Patreon too, and if you'd like to join, the link's down below with all the info. It'd be great to see you there. I hope this video has been helpful, if nothing else, to clarify exactly what's included in this card pack. They did say yesterday in the interview that they're going to be releasing them again, but who knows how long that's going to take. Could be quite soon, could be a while, and if you want to start playing with these rules, you're going to need them now. So hopefully this is going to help you get hold of them and start implementing them into your game. So if you liked the video, please hit the like button. Also subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps the channel out. And if you've been enjoying the videos I've been putting out over the past couple of years, or if you've only just recently started watching and you've liked what you've seen, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe. And I can't wait to see you here again next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.